What does your shirt say?
I don't know. This was like a shirt. Yeah, I stole all his clothes. Fuck him.
Oh my god. Jasmine, what if he watches this? He's gonna ask for it back.
And then I'm gonna tell him no.
That's not how that works. I think he would totally like come all the way to like Harlem to get his shirt. He would be
Like, you
like,
came all the way over here for a fucking t-shirt. Do you realize how much of a bum you are? I'm not letting him in my building. And if he tries to get into my apartment, I'll just call the police. The fucking precinct is right there. He thinks I won't call the cops on him. I don't want to call the cops because I hate the cops. But if you're gonna fucking come out your fucking face, want to act tough all of a sudden, then you're just gonna have to get the boot, sis. Sorry.
and that was a message to from Jasmine. And as we say,
If
let
you
us.
want to fight, you're gonna lose.
And with that said, Jasmine, let us begin the show. This is Midori's World, guys. Welcome back. I am Midori. This is Jasmine Cash, looking beautiful as fuck. If you would
Yeah.
like to follow Midori's World, a place where we talk about everything under the sun from politics, love, sex, drama, the tea on the block. We talk about it all. If you want
Who's
to
block?
follow, huh?
Who's block?
On my block. But if you want to follow
Ooh.
that, you could follow me on Instagram. It's Miss Story YouTube, which you can see on the side of me. Follow. And my YouTube channel is Midori Days TV, baby. Midori Days TV. Jasmine, where can they follow you? Let them know.
Um, I guess you could follow me at Chunky Carlos, or Cash is my real name,
Or both.
or both. Or if you like photography, Misfit Dreamland. I have not created in a very long time, but you probably haven't seen any of the shit that I already did anyway, so look at it.
Yes, look at it. Misfit Dreamland is beautiful. Jasmine does some amazing photography. Chunky Carlos always gives me a funny vibe. It's a lot
This
of
is stupid.
it's a lot of uncut off pictures. Jasmine has caught me off guard a couple of times in those pictures, and I am still shook. I remember one time I was looking at one of them, and I was like, "This bitch caught me off guard," and I looked fucking weird in that picture, but it's okay.
What picture? I never took no off guard pictures of you.
I'm gonna look through all your photos and find them.
If it's a picture, you probably took the picture. So
That's also pretty true. But also, I haven't been on Instagram for a long time now, but hey. Anyway, guys, today's topic is going to be an interesting topic. It is called inspiration porn. Now, you may be wondering why it's called inspiration porn. Well, there's a background story. So please don't come for us because we're just reporting. Anyway, so inspiration porn is a basically a terminology or word that is used in the disabled community or the abled community. And they basically use this terminology to describe people who are, what would we say, abled? Is it abled?
what able bodied for
Yes.
like okay.
For us, right? We're able bodied, right?
Yes, I think so. I have not done the research that you did, so
Okay, well, it's basically a term that is used in this disabled community to talk about abled people and how we judge and discriminate them. So, there is an amazing TED Talk that talks about this, and I would love for you guys to see it, and I'll shout it out to you right now because I think it's a really good one, and it is done by Stella Young. Stella Young is a comedian, but also a disability advocate and an editor at ABC's Ramp Up. She did a TED Talk in 2014 on inspiration porn and objectification of disabled people. During this talk, she basically talks about how, from a very young age, people looked at her differently just because of her disabilities, but also how just because she had disabilities, people already thought that she basically deserved to like she deserved an award for like being born or having a disabled and living. And it is very ignorant for us as able people to think that way. And that is just a little bit of a summary, but we're going to dive deeper into it right now.
Mm.
Let me take a breath. Okay.
That was a
So,
lot.
Stella Young, like I said, is a very big advocate in the disabled community. She is also disabled herself, and she's also a well known comedian. She talks about a time that when she was younger, her school basically wanted to give her an award, saying that she had went through, like, she had been through a lot of hurdles, or a lot of, what is that word when you go through a lot of shit? What is it called? You know,
Hardships.
yes, yes. They wanted to give her a hardship award for her life. And her family was basically saying, like, what hardships did she go through? Like, what did she go through that was so hard and so taxing, when she's barely, like she's in like fourth or fifth grade. And basically, they said, that since she was disabled, she must have had a rough, hard upbringing. And I think that is when her, Stella's parents said, hey, our daughter might be disabled, but she lives her life just like everybody else. And in the TED Talk, Stella was saying, I watch Sex in the City like everybody else. I talk like everybody else. I have dreams like everybody else. Okay, not everyone watches Sex in the City, but you get what I'm saying.
That one threw me off.
Yeah, but she was basically saying how she does things like just like everybody else, and we need to stop looking at disabled people who are just living out their lives as these inspirations. Like, wow, she's really trying her hardest to be just like us, like normal people, because that's fucked up. Disabled people are normal people. They are just like everybody else. And we need to stop othering them and treating them like they are not us. We are all the fucking same. And just because someone might be a little bit different than us does not mean that disabled people should be boxed in a completely different compartment and not be respected and treated just like everyone else. And she goes on to talk about how when we scroll on Instagram, or like when we see things on TV sometimes, or even like when we read things on Facebook, we see someone who doesn't have a limb and we see a quote that's saying, don't give up on your dreams. Sometimes these quotes these people didn't even say, but I digress. It's it's stuff like that where we see one person who doesn't have an arm, and it's like, so and so didn't have this arm, but they were able to create 100 pieces, so you should be able to do it too, or you should be able to do more than that. And stuff like that is fucked up, because just because someone is disabled and they were able to accomplish that doesn't mean that you should think like, oh my god, if they can do that, then that means that I can do this, like, that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Disabled people are just people that may have like lost a limb, or there just might be certain things that just might be different. However, they are just like us. And just because we might not, like, take it away from here, Jaszmin, because now I'm getting tired, and
Oh, yeah. I feel like
but you
it's
got
also
what I was
very
saying, right? Was I on the right track, or was I saying fucked up? Let me know.
okay. I'm just listening. Um, there definitely is like there's this real big issue of like dehumanizing somebody for being like disabled, because it's very like one. I think one of the points I didn't watch the whole TED talk, but I did read the article you sent me, and one of the points was like an example they had was like when people have like, oh, like prom proposals to the one kid in their school that has Down syndrome, or like they show like the kids with no legs playing sports and stuff, and it's like those are great things for those people, but it's also being used to give gratification to able-bodied people rather than actual support and understanding for the person dealing with what they're dealing with, you know?
Absolutely.
And it also does like it eliminates this idea that they can live fulfilling lives, because we have this idea that you can't live a fulfilling life unless you have everything working in a certain way, you know?
And that's wrong.
Yeah, it's not true. Like you can have all kinds of fulfilling lives and be happy and do all like it's like, but also with that same idea, I feel like kind of like viewing disabled people in a way where it's like trying to like gain self gratification by like congratulating them and stuff. But like, look, I'm a good person because look at me giving this award to this person or giving this time and energy. When in reality, when it comes to like actual struggles they may deal with in their day to day basis because of their disability and because of people not being informed enough to understand, or people being like inconsiderate or not being having enough access in certain situations, especially when it comes to having a wheelchair. And it's like,
Especially in bathrooms too sometimes. Like it's real
yeah,
fucked up.
it's very like it's people like there are able-bodied people that are so quick to give themselves self-gratification for like these little nonsensical things, but when it comes to like things that they really do need, when it comes to resources, when it comes to treating them fairly and treating them like people, it's like silence. It's like, oh, like where's all that care and concern that you had when you're watching this kid over here get like go to prom, but you don't want to help him have access to employment and to be able to buy his own house and support himself when they're adults. It's like
Absolutely.
you don't actually care about the state of these people. You just want to feel good about yourself while watching someone else deal with something,
And probably tweet about it, and so that way you get tons of likes.
Yeah, it's the same as like people who fucking record themselves giving food to homeless people. It's like this is a real person.
Yeah, you didn't
Like this
have to
is
record that. You could have just done it.
yeah, like you're clearly here to exploit this person to look good, to be like, I'm great. I am a humanitarian. Look at me caring.
And I
I'm
have to be a
documenting it.
humanitarian in front of this camera that I'm going to show to millions
In
of
front of
people.
this camera, I did my makeup today. I only bought one bag of food to feed one homeless person. I'm going home to upload it in my nice apartment with an indoor jacuzzi. It's like stupid, like it's so dumb. It's performative, is what it is. It's like you don't care, and you're proving that you don't care by
What are
not.
some ways that you feel like we as abled people can do to help disabled people in day to day? Because like I feel like that one of the biggest things is how we treat them like they're different than us, like in a general sense. Like when we see a disabled person, like in like first let me break it down to like when we see disabled people like in the streets or just like
Oh, I will say one thing, just real quick.
yeah,
Not all disabilities are visible,
that is true.
and that also plays into the way we view, treat, and understand.
Can you go deeper into that?
So I feel like what the issue is yeah, how we view disabled people as a whole. We view them in a sense that they're lacking, that we have more than them simply by being built different.
Which is
And
not true.
not true at all. Um, and we also have this very specific idea of what is considered disabled. It's like, for example, I actually don't have an example. No, yes, I do have an example. Chronic pain. You can't see chronic pain, but it's a very serious disability and it affects people's lives. Like they feel horrible, like
All the
pain
time.
all the time. So it's like we tend
Also,
to have.
there is I just want to say there's a I don't know if this would be like there's an illness and basically it's where uh anything that goes in your vagina will cause you pain, and I think it's called vaginosis or something like that.
Oh
but
my god.
but basically no matter what, um they're always in excruciating pain, so they basically can barely have sex, or
Yeah.
they need to be with smaller men, so that way they don't
Smaller things.
smaller sizes, so that way smaller happy sizes, so that way they can feel a bit of pleasure. I like to call it a happy size because I like that term, because you're
I
always
don't.
happy, whether it's big, small, or medium. You're just happy with the size. Is it a big happy size, a medium happy size, or a large happy size? Either way,
I,
you're happy.
okay.
I'm sorry, that was a tangent, but it's a real serious thing, and a lot of men don't like to be with women who have that because they tend to discredit the woman and thinking that her pain is like not real, or
Mhm.
discrediting, saying like, oh, this is hard to deal with because she can't have sex with me because she's always going to be in pain, not
Yeah.
realizing that yeah, she's always going to be in pain because she has an illness. Um,
Yes.
and that's what I thought about when you said that chronic thing. I just
Oh,
wanted to say
that's
this.
okay. I feel like that's also a whole other topic in itself. The way
It
people.
definitely is, and I'm sorry for bringing it up now, but I
No,
just
no,
wanted
it's
to say that.
cool. We'll just put a pin in that. Pick that up another time.
Yes,
But
we will.
so yeah, like how we view people, like disabled people, people with disabilities. One, it's not something you could always see. Two, you can't like the main things to understand is that you don't understand this person's experience, no matter what, And it's the same thing, when it comes to like when we talk about racism, when we talk about um, sexism and misogyny as well. It's like the person on the other side is not gonna ever understand the experience, and to kind of like to to kind of like one have this like pre-notioned idea, like, oh, I know what this is like. I saw a TV show about this or whatever. That in itself is just like, all right, there clearly isn't good representation. So basing your interactions with any type of person with any type of disabilities on what you see with the minimal representation we have in media, that in itself is just like, all right, like clearly you should look into something or try to gain a better understanding, or at the very least be respectful even if you don't understand. It's like you don't have to know what's up. Just be nice to people, treat people with respect, and don't be weird about it. Don't be overtly like, let me do whatever I can. Like, no, like these people live their whole lives like this. They know how to ask for help. They know what to like. They know they're people. They like just like you and me. Like if somebody wanted you to come and do all this extra shit, they would have just asked you. Like it's just I don't know, man. Understanding that this is a person. This is a person. Treat them like how you
But
want someone to treat you.
also, it is really fucked up that in a society like you said at the beginning, Jasmine, where we objectify a lot of disabled people and we use them to basically as inspiration sometimes to be like, oh well, this person, like if this person can do it, I can do it. However, we
Mhm.
never want to give these people jobs. We never want to
Mhm.
help them like
Provide
financially.
resources. Provide like there are so many
The fact that
situations.
we have to, it's always been weird to me, like the fact that you have to let people know sometimes, like jobs know that you're disabled or not. Like it's sort of like sometimes I feel like even though we want to say that people are not biased when choosing people for jobs,
They are.
they are. And I feel like sometimes I could I knew a person who had bipolar disorder, and
Mhm.
they told me that they did not put that down because they knew that they might not have gotten the job that they had they had put in that they were bipolar. And when you think about stuff like that, I can only imagine what it's like if you have a disability and you should tell them that you have the disability, but you know that you might not get the job because you have the disability. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
of the bias that we have against people with that disability. Like the bias that people have with look at the bias that people have with people who have bipolar disorder, you know? Like
Yeah. Also, that in itself is also like it's a disability. It's like mental disabilities, not
yeah.
being able. And the problem was one, not enough people being educated enough to really understand what all of these things mean and what it means for all these people to have it and what it means like to deal with them as people. And because people don't have an understanding, they treat it like no. They feel like it's a reason to be like, I don't want to be around this. I don't want to be a part of this. And that's also terrible because it's like you're literally making a whole person feel as though their existence isn't valid enough because you don't understand them, you know? And that's unfair. That's beyond unfair. Literally, the fact that you can't, like, the fact that you could lose jobs, the fact that you could lose, like, opportunities, the fact that even just, like,
I just
being
want
able
to
to.
say that in some places, like people think that even like to an extent that pregnancy is a type of disability to do their job,
Mhm.
and will try to fire pregnant women because that they feel like they're not doing they won't be able to handle their workload, or will be slowing the company down, or they don't
Yeah.
even want to pay them for a pregnancy leave. It's okay, Jasmine. You still look beautiful. Anyway, keep on going, Jasmine.
Sorry. Now everyone knows I'm ugly.
You're so hot.
Shut up.
You
Just
know what? You know what, Jasmine? I'm just
no.
gonna no. We're gonna take this time in this podcast. You're smoking. You're smoking like sizzling pork bacon, baby. Or like a Care Bear. I like Care Bears. They're snuggly. You like snuggly. But anyway,
Anyway,
back to what I was
back to
saying.
you. Yeah. Yes, continue.
You were the one continuing. Do you remember what you were saying?
Ignorance. Allowing ignorance to be, it's, yeah. Any form of discrimination is garbage, boo boo, trash. And for people to kind of glorify when someone's able to, like, just do basic shit when they've been denied so many other opportunities strictly because they have different situations going on than everybody else. It's like, it's like insult to injury, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, we're not going to allow you to do certain things or have certain rights, but you get to hold this little card that says, I made it. So, cool. You know, like, that's how it, like, looks, you know? And it's really
Yeah.
like, you gotta just realize that you're doing that. Like, that's terrible, you know? How could you look at another person and think that it's okay to, like, make them feel so small, you know?
But then not even try to help them.
Not even try to help, and then pat yourself on the back about it, you know? Like, yeah, I did a good thing today. Like, no, you didn't. Like, I was watching something one time about, it was like one of those BuzzFeed shits, and but it was
Oh
like a,
no.
it was pretty good though. It was like one of those things on Instagram. I don't know if it was actually BuzzFeed, but it was a group of I'm trying to eat this chocolate, but it melted.
Guys,
So
just so you know, Jasmine got that chocolate she's eating. If you want some ASMR shit, she got it from Costco. Oh yeah. But yeah, keep on going, Jasmine.
um yeah, I forgot what I was saying.
It's okay because I can pick up.
I remember.
Go, Jasmine. Go for it.
It was a group of blind people being interviewed, and they were asking, like, what are some really annoying things that happen to you
Oh, I
as a
want to
blind
say that I know what you're talking about. That wasn't BuzzFeed.
that wasn't
No, it wasn't.
good, but it was, you know, it's the vibe.
Yeah, it was like the vibe, but just a little bit less ignorant than BuzzFeed.
Yeah, but yeah, one of the things that really struck out to me, that it's like, I feel like it's, when it comes to any disabled person, that I feel like some people, it goes over their heads. They talked about how they think it's really annoying when people just randomly, like, grab them or touch them or try to, like, guide them to where they're going, with this assumption that they're just like this lost puppy that doesn't know what they're doing, you know? And it's very, like, people really do look at people who are differently able and just, like, think to themselves, like, oh no, like, this person needs help, like this poor puppy, you know? And it's like, that's not how you should view them, you know? Because it's also invasive, you know? It's like, you don't get to just come up in here and start touching folks or getting up in people's biz. And the same thing comes even when it comes to like mental disorders and disabilities. It's like you don't get to walk into a room and start playing therapist with somebody. It's like you don't know what's up. You don't know what their deal is. Just treat them like how you would treat all your other fucking friends and people you interact with. Don't give this alienating thought that this person is helpless and
Or
you
needs
have to,
your pity in any
yeah,
type of way.
needs your pity or needs your like action. You know, it's like who the fuck are you to try to like impose that on a person, you know, physically, emotionally, like what is this, you know? It's like unless this person lets you in, unless this person says to you that they need help in this way, don't just try to like interject yourself like you know better, you know, because that in itself is also it's really like you're undermining their experience, you know, you completely.
Also, in terms of sometimes when we are talking about disabilities, especially mental disabilities, there's a spectrum, you know?
Hmm.
And we need to understand that just because what we've seen on television is not reality of what people in real life who are on um, who have that disability or who are on a spectrum deal with in their day-to-day life. And I think that sometimes we tend to hold what we see on television to caliber with what we think the real person in real life is dealing with. For example, I don't think a lot of people know this, but bipolar is a spectrum, you know?
Hmm.
Like depression is a spectrum. And also autism is a spectrum. And you can't just take one person that you see on television or in life and think that that person is going to be like every person in the world.
Yeah,
Like
like they
like
represent everyone with that like
Yes, like you should not take one person that you know who is disabled and use that as a representation for all the other people who have that same disability as them, because that is fucked up. But not also that is being very ignorant, because every person's different. Every person has a different lifestyle, but also
Mhm.
everyone person has different stories. So it's like, for you to sit here and say that this person and this person are the same just because they both have bipolar is very ignorant, because you don't know where they are on the spectrum. And
Yeah,
it's like
you're
you
not the
can't.
expert all of a sudden, and that's that on that. You're not gonna walk up to any person dealing with anything and all of a sudden be like, yeah, I saw The Good Doctor, I know what autism's about. It's like, stop. You
Yeah,
don't,
and
you
you
know.
don't. And
And
it's
the thing is, it's okay to not know and make the effort to educate yourself and actually go out of your way to make a difference in there, you know, or just for yourself personally, make a difference in your understanding. But the issue with like the inspiration point specifically is that it lacks that aspect. It lacks the understanding. It lacks the effort of educating yourself, and it lacks the unlearning of ridiculous stereotypes that don't apply to every single person. It's not one size fits all. Um, and it's also like I feel like some of the issues also comes from entitlement. You know, like feeling as if like you know we're entitled to try to make these people feel special. You know, and it's like no, you know, just like how you're not entitled to make anybody feel special.
yeah.
You know, it's like it's like people aren't asking for you to go around and like throw a parade for them and like be like do all this crazy shit. They're just asking to be respected and treated as human, you
Yeah.
know? And that's the part that goes over people's heads the most. It's like treat a person like a person. Treat a person like a person. Even if they don't understand or function or do anything the way that you do, does not mean that they're not a person that deserves respect and understanding.
Also, when you're going into situations, don't think that you are the doctor, or you know everything about a person because you saw it on television.
Hmm.
Every person is different. And
Also, you should take into mind that not everything you see about these things in TV or
it's
movies
real.
are, yeah, it's not always accurately represented, you know? And that's also the thing that I feel is really upsetting. It's like just no real accurate representation when it comes to like disabilities or, you know, just like different situations that everyone has to deal with. And it's like when you aren't depicting people as people, as we know, just like as black people, we understand that, and it's frustrating. It's like, all right, it's like, all right, you guys see this caricature of a person and associate that with me rather than me as a person. And that's the exact same thing we do when it comes to disabilities. We associate this idea that we're being spoon fed essentially for entertainment, you know, and then when it comes to everyday situations, we're kind of looking past these people and not even seeing a person and just seeing a caricature, you know? And that's why I really, really fucking hate like the way things are represented in like TV shows and
Can you
media.
give an example?
Personally, now, like I said, like I can't speak on anybody's experience or understanding because I myself don't deal with these things, and I myself also don't have a huge understanding of everything. I learn bits here and there because I want to be able to understand these things and just have a better understanding of
Mm-hmm.
people around me. And so, like, if I'm wrong about the way this it's being depicted, it is what it is. I could be wrong, but I don't like The Good Doctor. Like, I never
Why?
really watched it in its entirety, but it's a show that has this person who is autistic and also is somehow like this superhero doctor, you know? Like, he's super smart and he's like the best medical, and they hire him on the spot and all this shit. And it's like they're all struggling to understand him, but they're also like,
But
he's the best there.
also, we also don't know, like in real life, you would have to have a degree. Like, just.
Yeah, that's I mean like that's a trope in itself that I think is weird with hospital shows. Just like, you're hired, you saved this man's life. That's not real. But it's also just like this idea where it's like we tend to glorify certain things without one a full understanding of it and without an accurate representation of it. So we give this idea that it's like, oh, like it's like having a superpower, you know? You're like super smart and you're really good at this and
Yeah.
got great opportunities. When, you know, in real life, you know, you can't like there are incredibly intelligent people who are also autistic. And like that's great. Like there is any kind of person, but what the fuck was I saying? Yes.
You're trying to make a point on wrong depictions, like how.
Yeah, it's like the way that it's shown in these like TV shows, especially like a show like that. Like I said, I haven't really watched the whole show through, but I couldn't watch it because it made me uncomfortable. But it's very just like, look at this awesome thing, you know? Like, don't feel bad that you have this thing because look at all this cool shit you could do because of it, you know? And it's the same thing on like A Beautiful Mind, you know, where it's like this man has schizophrenia, but like we look at it as very like, oh, it was like such a beautiful film because he was like this great intelligent mind and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we also like we glorify it until like it comes to dealing with the hard parts of it, and all of a sudden it's like, what a great tragedy. Like all this
Yeah.
time we thought this great person was great, but now it's like, oh, now we understand that it's very sad that they have to deal with this. And it's like, no, that's unfair to represent these things that way because it doesn't give any kind of humanistic or realistic view on these experiences in any way.
Like
And
House. That's.
House is also one of those things too, where it's very like this person is struggling with addiction, and it's like, oh, but it makes him like a super intelligent doctor. And it's like, that's
That's still.
one, not real.
Yeah, but also that's not. It doesn't depict how people really are on addiction. You know, like when people.
Yeah, it's glorifying it and then demonizing it on the back end, and there's no real human middle part. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's what is so frustrating because you separate the person and you make each person that deals with these things, like you make that the whole focus of them. And it's like that's not all that these people are, you know? Like these are individuals, like the woman said, with dreams and hopes and all kinds of experiences and emotions. And when you erase that so you could fit this like two-dimensional idea of this person, when you erase that and only see their disability and only see their differences, you know, it's like you just, it's like you're looking at a ghost, you know? It's like, why are you treating this person like they're not there?
Because honestly, and most times, like we don't see them as there, you know. And
That's
but
the
also,
thing.
we shouldn't have people who are not disabled writing shows about disabled people or people with disability,
Absolutely.
because
It's like, why
that's
are you writing these stories if these are not your experiences or you have no understanding of it?
just because you have a disabled friend doesn't mean that that's a good reason to be
Yeah.
doing stuff like that.
Also, what I hate about shows and shit, like the representation TV, it's like the even like when it comes to like those like news stories and stuff, and it's meant to be uplifting and all that shit. It's like they really focus on like people around them. You know, they really focus on the families that take care of them. They focus on, oh my god, my hair. They
Yes.
focus on like the friends that want to hang out with them, the people that are in their lives, on everything that they do. You know, it's like, oh, like you're here, that's great. Your parent, like that, or like everything that's like difficult for them while dealing with this person. And it's like it's never about the person themselves. It's always about somebody around them and their experience with them. You'll
It's
see
never
stars.
talking about how they deal or cope with their.
Yeah, it's like this thing that this person is dealing with or has, or like the way that they are, is such a burden on me as a person who isn't dealing with it and is outside of it completely. And like how strong I am for dealing with it. And it's like, first
Also,
of all, if you're a parent and that's your child, it's your fucking job to do that shit. So
absolutely, yeah, you signed up for it.
yeah, so patting yourself on the back for taking care of your child who's in a chair, okay, like you're supposed to do that, you psycho. Like what the fuck? Like it's like the same way that it's not fair to just like give a kid in a wheelchair an award just for being in a wheelchair. It's not fair to fucking give an award to family members, caretakers, friends, whomever is involved with this person simply for being involved with them. It's like you don't get a fucking cookie for treating this person like a person or for
But
giving this person
also,
attention.
that person can't. Their life isn't going to change. So the fact that you're getting a cookie, but still being able to go on with your normal life,
Yeah,
is fucked up.
normal, because that's also the thing, you know. It's like that the problem is that like
What we
able-bodied
see as
people,
mobile.
yeah, like we like able-bodied people, we all look at ourselves as normal, and that's also part of the alienating. It's like you're straight up just being like, no, 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 you're different, therefore not normal like me. And it's like, no, 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 no. Okay, like that's not like it's you gotta we gotta redefine our idea of normal, because humans aren't all built the same. That like
And
we know
that's
this.
okay.
We know this, and it is okay. And it's just about understanding it, because it's like, why don't you understand this? You know, it's like we
Because we're
really,
a little bit dumb.
well, it's also we have this society that's really built on like a lot of just like telling people what it means to be acceptable as a person. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's all based on bullshit, you know? This idea of normalcy, this idea that like, you know, one person is superior because they're able to do one thing that another can't.
Or one race is superior.
Yeah, but like the hey, it all ties in together, you know? Because it's like to think that like you're far more valuable because you are more capable in a situation where someone else may not be. It's a sick thought process to have, you know, to think that way about yourself and people around you, you know? Like
Or
it's
to
not.
think that because this person has more limbs than you or something, or doesn't have a certain like mental disability, that they'll be better or fit for a job more than that person. Like you don't know that.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's just the main thing is, like I said, not seeing them as people. And it's like when you don't see somebody as a person, you kind of just make up the rules on what you feel is acceptable in treating them. And it's unfair, you know? And it's like whether it's meant to be positive or it's very clearly negative, it's just so like you're not giving this person their humanity, you know?
But you're giving their family and friends a star for associating themselves with them.
Yeah, like it's like, how do you do stuff like that and not realize you're literally erasing this person? You're just like, you don't matter outside of whatever it is you got going on, you know? You're different and that's all you'll be known for forever. And it's like, that's horrible, you know? It's horrible to think that that's really how we really look at people, you know?
But we do.
Simply for being, literally for being different. Simply for being different.
I think back on like certain like situations, and I think that if the only way that to change this is if we like really incorporated something in the like the school, where we have conversations about, disassembling our thoughts on disabled people or people with mental illnesses and mental disabilities. Like I think that that should be taught in the schools. You know what I mean? Like,
Hell yeah.
because then it's like eventually the people that we go to school with, or just everyone's going to grow up, and they might be in a place of power to hire someone with a disability, but because they're biased, or they have stigmas against disability people, they won't hire them. And I think that that's a problem that we need to resolve within the workforce, because if people have to lie to get a job, then what does that tell you about the people that you're allowing to hire people? Why are they so anti disabled people? Or and why can't we, like, what makes an abled person more capable for the job than a disabled person? Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, just because they might do things differently does not mean that they are not as capable as an able person. Just because you are bipolar does not mean that you can't do the job than someone who is not bipolar. Like, it doesn't make sense. Same
Yeah.
thing with depression. Like just because you are depressed does not mean that you can't get a job done. That's not what
Yeah.
that means, And I
Also, on top of that, viewing it as like, yeah, I feel like it goes back to viewing as somebody dealing with something different as less than, as lesser, like you're a lesser functioning person, you
yeah.
know, and that's not true. Also, on top of
There's
that,
also a phrase called highly functioning. Like you can have depression and be highly functioning.
hell yeah. And, obviously people who don't have enough education about it or aren't taking it seriously enough wouldn't have an understanding of that. And that's part of the big issue overall. And as well as, I think the other problem is also, fuck, and I just had it too. I was like just thinking about what the fuck I was about to say.
We were talking about uh why do people bipolar people like are the same
Oh,
as
okay, the work thing. It's
yeah.
also, if a person, like the same thing with the blind folks. It's like, they will let you know when they can or can't do something.
Mhm.
If a person is applying for a job, I have all the assumption that they feel they are capable to do this job. Now, if you hired somebody and they weren't capable of doing the job, that's fine. You wouldn't know unless you hired them.
Yeah.
But simply deciding that for them, deciding for them that you aren't able to do this, is like, you don't get to decide that shit. You don't get to decide when I need help. You don't get to decide when I can or can't handle something. Like, they are the ones dealing with it. They would know what they can and can't do, you know? So to just blindly be like, no, I decided that you are not physically, mentally capable of holding this together, like doing this task, because not because I understand what it is, it's because I just feel like you're not like me, so you can't do this. And it's like, no, that's not the case. That's not how that works. That's just not how that works.
So Jasmine, we are about to reach the 50-minute mark. What are
Mhm.
some things that you want to say to people to on the terms of um changing and helping society in general be more accepting of people with disabilities, or also just changing our outlook on people who do have disabilities? What would you say?
I think the thing is the same with any issue that we as a whole as a society may fall into and not be able to have a full understanding. Just listen to people who actually go through what they go through and what they deal with. Don't just decide you know what's right for them, decide you know what they're dealing with, decide any of that. Listen, because even you and I will never understand,
Absolutely.
we're like completely able bodied, and there's no way to really relate on a like level of knowing what it's like. But all we really can do is learn, educate ourselves, listen to people in our everyday lives, and for the most part, even if you don't understand, which is fine, not everybody's gonna get everything. We're not all super geniuses.
Yeah.
The basic thing is respect. Regardless if you can see a disability or not, people are people, and treat them like people. If what you're doing would make you uncomfortable, if a person did or said that to you,
Then you
don't
probably
do it to
shouldn't do it.
them.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's basic shit you learn in kindergarten. It's just learn how to be considerate, don't be overbearing, and don't fucking congratulate yourself for being understanding or trying to be understanding. Like, you're not a superhero because you helped a blind person cross the street. He's probably crossed the street a bajillion times before and did not ask for your help at all. So just read the room, educate yourself.
But also,
Pay it.
you're not Superman in a cape.
You're not. These people don't exist for your gratification.
They also don't exist to make you feel better about your pathetic life, you know?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, and that's what we said. I'm backballing it, baby.
We in this
Yes.
house.
Like, but also I think we need to the same jobs, the same way that we are taking we're making shows that are supposed to talk and to explain people who have disabilities, we should be giving people those jobs.
Yeah, straight up. Also, yeah, fucking employ people. God damn it.
Because
But
it doesn't
also,
make sense that we want to be like, we always want to say this girl did this with this disability, but how are we, like, why don't we donate, why don't we give her money, why don't we give her funds? We're using
yeah,
her as a motivation.
resources, not just money, resources,
Yeah.
and but it
Or
all comes down.
jobs. We
Yeah,
have the good doctor, but are there any people on that set per se that we know that might actually be suffering, or like not suffering because that's a fucked up term, but have autism or might be on the spectrum that is helping write the
I
show?
think there's a term. It's like neuro. I want to say neurodivergent, but I could be wrong because I don't know. I'm bad with words, but it's also a part of like folks who are on the spectrum. Because, like I said, it is a spectrum, but like neurodivergent, I think it is neurodivergent. I don't know. I could be 100% wrong, but that has to do with sensory shit. And I forgot why I brought that up.
We were talking
Oh,
about good doctor and jobs.
yeah. One, I brought it up so like another way to kind of like describe different types of folks on different aspects of the spectrum, but also understanding when it comes to workplaces, because it's like with somebody with certain situations, like they need understanding. Like if you have a chair, they need ramps, and if you have issues with sensory things, like you need to be able to have safe space, or like some kind of system where you could feel safe and still can like do all your shit. It's like it's all about understanding and accommodation. Like, why is it so hard to accommodate for other people's needs?
Because we don't want to, I think.
It's because folks be selfish.
Absolutely.
But to build a better world, you have to learn to accommodate for everyone. That's the only true way to equality, making sure everyone has the resources they need to equally be happy.
Absolutely. And with that said, Jasmine, is there anything else you want to say?
Just be a good person, y'all.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And don't pat yourself on the back because you helped a person. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
want someone to help you?
Also, man, those fucking prom videos piss me off because they be like, yeah, I asked the kid with Down syndrome to prom. It was a touching moment. Did you ever hit him up after that? Did y'all
Probably
become friends
not.
before that? Like, were you ever nice to this person before this big moment? Remember that, y'all. Performative shit, that shit's whack.
It is whack. And with that said, we're going to end this off. I am Midori. That is Jasmine Cash, the beautiful only one and only. Oh my God, Jasmine, you're iconic. And this is Midori Days. Bye, guys.